Welcome to another Mad Love Chat.
And we're Marla and Dave. And if you guys have been listening over the past to the radio show, which you can find on www.marlaanddave.com, that's and with an ampersand, I'm sorry, without the ampersand, ANDDAVE.com.
MARLAANDDAVE.com. That's, of course, www precedes that, but...
So if you listened over the past couple of weeks, Dave and I have been having a very, very hard time right now in our marriage. You know what? Mainly me. And when I say mainly me, of course, because we are married, if one is having a hard time, both are having a hard time. But I chose to expose in our show last week, it's not what it looks like, the reality of our financial situation and our lives and a public persona not living up to what all may expect. And we decided...
Well, quite honestly, I have to stop you there because there's three things. Thing number one, we don't really live our marriage up to what you expect us to do. We have to live our marriage and carry out our marriage up to what we expect and what God expects. That's number one. Thing number two, I did take a little offense last week at the way things were handled, but you know, it is what it is. Everybody has to handle things in their own process, because one of the things that as we continue to be true to our motto, which is exposing the truth of our relationship to help bring your relationships back to life. As we deal with issues, there is a time and place for everything. I don't know if I was ready to deal with it in a public manner, but you know, it is what it is. And the third thing essentially is, you know, we each handle things in our own way.
Correct. And I'm saying that what we're dealing with today on this Mad Love Chat is the following, the follow-up, which is really coping with our dysfunction. So as we begin to try to take steps to heal our scenario, we're going to share what we're going through and what those steps really are. And so for me, the breakdown essentially that was on the table has to do with what I would call financial infidelity, which is just not having a complete disclosure of what's really going on. Now, I understand the reason that Dave has done these things because I've known Dave forever, but they still don't work for me. So the first thing that we're going to have to do, which we decided, or he brought this up, was to actually sit down and have a full financial disclosure meeting between the two of us, no matter what, at least once a week. So that just means if we need to sit down and say, look, we have $1.10, how are we going to divvy up our $1.10? That's a necessity to first face the reality of what is, and then to truthfully set in a plan to actualize or to move forward on how we intend to allocate those funds.
And yeah, like Marla said, I sat down today, and that was a suggestion that I made earlier today. But even as we're dealing with that, one of the subjects that we really need to deal with is a subject of blame. You know, and usually the reason why I said sometimes it's a lot easier to disclose the truth of a situation after you've had a little bit of time to actually work through it. Now, Marla's different from me. She just likes to, as soon as something happens, hey, you guys, this is what I'm dealing with. That's fine. I'm more the type of person that needs to actually assimilate what's actually going on, figure out a way how to deal with it, what the root of the issue really is, and start to deal with it before I actually share. But one of the things that, you know, I wanted to talk about was blame, the subject of blame, because to me, it's usually after a little time has passed, you know, where the blame gets placed in any situation is going to be a little bit different depending on who was hurt and who did the hurting in a relationship as time goes on. The reason why I say that is because at the beginning, the person who's hurt is going to maintain zero culpability in the situation whatsoever. And so then the blame falls squarely on the person who was hurt considers the one that hurt them.
Right, but I think that blame is usually placed in our relationship where blame is due. I have been absolutely 100% responsible for many things that have been hurtful in our relationship, as have you. So for me, I came to a critical point because my breaking point was being continually, that border and that line and that process was continually being presented to me, and I was continually dealing with it. And to be frank, I was at my absolute wit's end. So much of a wit's end that it felt like it wasn't even right for me to go on with the Marla and Dave show unless I could do this, because this is the truth.
So you're saying you were blackmailing me?
No way. I'm saying that just shut it down. It's not a you have to do it my way, but this is the way that we agreed together to bring it. And I felt like to not share this, I'm not bringing the reality of what we even intended to do in ourselves and in our ministry. That's what the Marla and Dave project and brand is really all about. And so I was in extreme hurt to the point that I wasn't even sure how I was going to cope with continuing on with Marla and Dave as a couple if I had to stay in that process. I felt like you were blackmailing me to have to stay in a process that was completely dysfunctional for my actual well-being as a person. That didn't fit into my process of living. And I can only control it for me. And so, no, I'm not trying to blackmail you, but I was ready to do what I had to do to regain the integrity and motion and truth of Marla, because that's the only thing that God gave me to manage. Period.
Okay, well, those are things that we're dealing with. We dealt with it on the radio show. We will continue to update you as things go on. One of the things that I felt that was important for me, I'm going to actually take a little time to make sure that I find out who Dave is, what Dave is all about, and just be Dave. I'm no longer going to be living my life for Marla.
And I encourage that.
So we'll let you know how that works out. Of course, I'll probably swing a little bit to the extreme side before I actually break it back down to the middle. At least that's what I expect.
And we hope when you come out of this whole thing, we like the new Dave. Good luck with that. This is the Mad Love Chat. Bye.
A beautiful thing.